Today, I'm going to tell you a wild story, a real story about a customer who thought their studio shed ADU was going to cost about $80,000, and I had to walk them through and show them, hey, even though that's one of the numbers you're seeing on their Design Center checkout page, the real cost to you is going to be something in the ballpark of $140,000, right? So they thought they were spending 80, and I was like, no, it's 140. Look at these lines. You have to see what's included and what's not included. All right, I know that sounds like a big difference and it's a wild story, but that happens all the time to very smart people who know how to read a website. And whichever size unit you happen to be looking at, whichever modular company you're thinking about or prefab company, you're gonna watch this and you're gonna understand how to figure out what's included and what's not included and how to read the real price. For a lot of people, yourself included maybe, this is the first and only time you're buying a prefabricated or modular house, right? You're buying a whole house on the internet. It's not like ordering some batteries on Amazon. And so there's a lot of pitfalls, and you just need to learn some of the basics. That way you won't check out without realizing all the numbers that you should be thinking about. And you can apply this advice to other modular and prefab units too. For the record, I actually like Studio Shed's website, which is why I'm using it. I think they do a very good job of flagging all these costs, and they say, hey, we can't reliably calculate this without visiting your property. Or, hey, this is going to vary depending on other conditions, so we're not telling you what the price is yet, but here's a placeholder for it. They're really good at that. That's why I'm using their checkout page, because I can show you, like, see, there's a placeholder. A lot of companies just say, starting at $100,000, and they don't explain what all goes in or what's excluded, and you think that you can get out, like with a car, that the starting price is what you get without any options. But actually, you find out that that starting price doesn't include a foundation or something basic like that. And like, that's not an option. If it's an ADU, you need a foundation. So you really got to be vigilant, and not because the companies are trying to deceive you, but because you need to know as a homeowner what you're getting when you're paying a company a lot of money. So we're going to start by looking at Studio Shed's Design Center, and I'm going to mock up a unit in their Summit series so that you get a rough sense. It's a unit that's about $80,000. This isn't the exact unit my client had from the story, but it's good enough to illustrate the story. It's a 14 by 30 Summit series, and it's roughly $80,000 in cost for the modular unit. The design studio has a lot of different steps, and this first step kind of looks like a checkout page with a tally and the total starting at price. So I've mocked up a 14 by 30 unit, and it's starting at $80,446. And there's a line by line of all the things that got me to that modular price. Now what's important to understand is that this is the unit price. It doesn't include the foundation, any service or shipping charges. And they've highlighted that by putting TBD rows in the design center. So that to be determined means, hey, there's going to be a price here, right? And they're flagging that for you. In the next step of the design center, they introduce permit plan sets. Now, Studio Shed, like a lot of modular and prefab companies, they can sell you units that are unpermitted sheds for your backyard, but they also can sell you accessory dwelling units, which are specifically designed to be permitted homes. Now, these permitted homes go on a foundation. They get submitted with full plan sets with architectural calculations and engineering calculations. And so they're often wet stamped, and the city approves them. Putting a plan set together costs money. You normally need to hire an architect or maybe a draftsperson. You get engineering calculations done, and it can cost several $1,000s. Permitting also costs money. Actually, applying for the permit, submitting for the permit, has fees involved. It involves time. Sometimes you apply to multiple departments, like a planning and building department. Can be two separate entities. There can be a fire department that needs to look at your plan. Sometimes you'll need to pass it by water or sanitation, and other departments. So that process can be intensive and it can be different from place to place. And some ADU companies say, oh, that's all included, and they give you a blanket price, which is generally gonna be on the high side because they want to cover more expensive permitting areas, jurisdictions where permitting is expensive. That's a generalization, but it's fair. And then other companies are not going to include that because they don't want to tell you, oh, permits will only cost $20,000 or they'll only cost $5,000 when it could be anywhere in that range. On this page in the Design Center, you can actually see where it says excludes submittal and other site work. So they're being very explicit. Hey, when you buy this ADU Summit Series from Studio Shed, the permit plan set is included in the base price of the Summit Series, and that comes with your unit. That said, submittal and site work, that's not included, right? And that's an important distinction. So you're going to get a full plan set. That's great. You don't need the architect. You're using the designers and architects at the modular company. But you might need to do the submission on your own or pay somebody to handle it. I happen to know a guy. Okay, on the next part of the Design Center, you have an installation page, and they show certified installation. Now what that means is they're charging you separately to actually install the unit. There are two prices listed on this screen. One is a shell only install. Now that's proprietary, like that's a term specific to Studio Shed. Different companies will refer to this differently. When I called them, they explained to me that, oh, that certified installation shell only, that means we'll put it on the foundation and we'll build it out to rough construction. So you'll end up with, you have the exposed framing and insulation in the walls, but you're gonna hang your own drywall or interior finish yourself. On the shell plus lifestyle interior, they were able to say, oh, that's going to include everything, all the finishing, and they could even send me an attachment that had all of the individual line items for what kind of finish they were going to use. So I could see what type of cabinets, what type of countertops, all that level of detail. Every builder should be able to either tell you how finished they're going to provide your unit for the price you're paying, and what level of finish. You can know all of that and determine it ahead of time before agreeing to a contract with a builder or a modular provider. Highly recommend that because it's good to have a plan, and it's good to agree on that plan so that there's no bad surprises down the road. Now, if you need to figure out the finish while the unit's being built, manufactured, that gives you some extra time and flexibility, but you're going to pay a big cost for that flexibility in that you never know, because you didn't agree up front, if that was the finish they were going to install for you. So consider looking at things like this. Consider the price of installation. Consider the level of finish involved in that installation. And then in the last part of the Design Center, there's a complete your order page. So on this complete your order page, you see there's a line item for the modular unit. It's about $80,000. There's a shipping delivery charge. There's a line for the permit plan set being included. But remember, there's no line for the submission, which is not included. There's a line for the concrete slab foundation. But remember, this has not been priced yet, because in this scenario, they're saying, we don't know enough about your property to give you an accurate foundation cost. You should figure that out on your own. It's not included here. There's a line for the finish and installation, and that brings you to a final estimate, and it's clear that this is an estimate. Then if you look at that asterisk at the bottom, they say, hey, you're going to be charged the initial payment of 50% of the final estimate, and then the remaining amount, including taxes, will be charged upon final shipment. Now, and that flags, hey, taxes aren't included in this yet, which is yet another cost that you're going to have to consider. And you should ask your provider what they plan on charging for tax based on your location and their location. And sometimes you'll find out that there's a pleasant surprise, and sometimes you'll find out, oof, add 10% of the unit cost, or maybe they include certain parts other than the unit. You just have to ask. You have to find out,
because that could be a big difference. Okay, so what have we learned? You now know all the things that can be included or excluded from the price that a modular company gives you or a prefab company gives you. Make sure to go through this list and that you can answer, is this included or not, for each of these bullet points. And if you're not completely sure, just call the modular provider, call the prefab person. Ask them, hey, can you walk me through this? Feel free to print this list out or send the video to them and ask them, hey, what in this list is included and what in this list is excluded from the price you gave me. All right, so you got taxes, you got the plan set, engineering and other soft costs, you've got permit submission and fees, you've got foundation and site work, you have the actual modular unit or the panels or whatever prefab components, you've got delivery to the property, you've got installation on the foundation, you've got finishing and what finishes they use, and then you got warranty, which actually didn't come up on the checkout page process, but it's something I like to flag for out-of-state providers especially. Studio Shed's in Colorado, and they have a good warranty. They're a good service-oriented company. You know, you could get these units at Costco. It's not like they're gonna disappear on you. They're not a fly-by-night outfit. But some out-of-state providers are a little bit more whimsical, and you don't want to get into a position where they send you a whole house on a truck, right? And when you get that house, you find out there's one part that got damaged in transit or one small part that's missing, and it's not a part you can easily get at Home Depot. Well, that's going to be a real pain in the neck to get them to ship you that one part from across state lines, maybe across the country. So just think about it before going with an out-of-state provider. Maybe find out what's their policy if a part's missing, what's their policy if there's a thing that needs to be replaced, what's their warranty for out-of-state? Do they have some way to handle it? Are they used to dealing with customers in California? You don't want to be their first customer in California, unless they're very, very eager to put in writing that they will do anything for you.
So now you know how to read the price for a modular unit, a prefab unit, and you're ready to compare prices like a pro, whether it's on Studio Shed's Design Center or with another prefab or modular provider. If you want to learn more about prefab and modular, I put a playlist together here. And if you want more tools about costs and how much you should budget for your accessory dwelling units, check this out.